Morning. All right, I want to introduce this wonderful gal that just changed my life, and I am so grateful that she came here today to share some of her experience, strength, and hope with all you all. So, Lila, it's all yours. There you go.
My name is Lila, and I'm an alcoholic. Carmel, it's good to see you there from Adair, up the road. I'm always happy to be in a meeting with you, Glenn and Mary. I think the first time we were together in a meeting was maybe almost 30 years ago, certainly over 25. I might have been the Women's International. Was it in 1997 or 8 or something like that? Time becomes kind of irrelevant after a while, but I'm delighted to see the two of you and to see you in your little Zoom boxes and be between you. It just is personally very comforting to me, and I need you to know that. You know, I can look back on okay, so let's get the facts out of the way right at the beginning. It's a small group and we can talk about it. I'm delighted that there's somebody with, 13 days and 5 days and 168 days and 335 and all of that, and the beginning of your life, of your new, safe, protected life. And happy birthday to all the birthday people. I just need a few minutes to get going. If I interrupt you, if I'm interrupted by a coughing spree, it's because I'm dealing with this little issue where I just can't seem to get rid of this cough, and so I may have to do that. Never mind the fact that there's a few other things that happen as you age. So some facts about me that just get them out of the way. I am 53 plus years sober. For those that are quite involved, that would be, anyway, 53 years sober, and I'm 75 years of age. Aside from a few little minor things, I'm in tremendous condition for my age. Sarah from Santa Monica, it's been a long time. I saw you with Mary Monk at the International Women's Convention in Palm Springs, California. So the connections are wonderful. I had the, let me just think for a minute now, because one of the reasons I just don't like speaking that much anymore, to be perfectly honest with you, is there's so much I want to give you and so much I want to say and so much I want to tell you, because it so all works and it all works perfectly. And no matter whether you fall down and get up 1,000 times, you're going to be okay in Alcoholics Anonymous. I suppose, to get myself started, I need to say that the most important thing I ever say, and I've been very aware of this in the last few years, is that I'm a regular attendee of meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I always love to say, and Zoom meetings too, my name is Lila and I'm an alcoholic. I love confirming that I'm an alcoholic. I hear myself say that. And I know, I remember, I attend meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous as if I come in with a completely open mind to every meeting that I ever attend. I actually have trained myself, practiced over and over and over again. One of the principles for me is to leave all my judgments, all my opinions, and everything else outside in the parking lot when I go into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I particularly in this year, in these last few years, I've had to leave my politics and any organization and institutions, and it's, the sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, so that I do not have to engage in any of those things. And I just bring the alcoholic, me, into a meeting. I love that when I go to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm just sitting, looking at another soul that has the same soul sickness and same disease as I have. It's really important to me. I don't know, you would think that that would have been more important in the first few years of my sobriety, but I loved, and I have to be reminded, and I love being in touch with, in a meeting, going to a meeting, turning up in a meeting, listening. I listen I listen better now in meetings in Alcoholics Anonymous than I have ever listened before, because I know what I'm listening to. I know what I'm listening to. And I know that if I'm having an off day or I'm down or a little whatever, somebody out of the mouth of babes is going to come something that's going to absolutely, I'll go, oh yeah, and it will bring me back. It will bring me back. One of the things I particularly love about attending meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous is that it's taken me probably 50 years of my sobriety to actually be present all the time in a meeting and not be upset because somebody says something I don't think is appropriate, or I don't think is right, or they don't behave the way I think they should behave. I'm telling you, I make myself laugh. And then a little while ago, I was reading something or the other, and it said, you know, Bill Wilson himself said many times, may we not fear change in Alcoholics Anonymous, because I have been sober long enough to see amazing changes occur in Alcoholics Anonymous. And all of them eventually turn out to be very, very good. And I think that this Zoom thing is another addition, and we all have to adjust to that. When I got sober in 1969, alcoholism was not considered a disease. It was a secret. You would lose your job. You were considered mentally defective if you had the disease of alcoholism. You attended meetings practically in secret. It was different. And that's okay. We didn't mind. We adjusted to that. And it was not uncommon when I first got sober to be taken down as an introduction to LA County General Hospital by someone in the program and shown the alcohol ward and the drug ward and Alcoholics Anonymous. And at that time, there was a very big definition between alcoholics and drug addicts. They were on that side of the wall, the rooms, and we were on the other side. And I always thought, wow, you know, at least I'm not a drug addict. Well, I have to tell you that in the years that I have been sober, if I were to say that, and you know something, I'm one of those. I smoked a little hashish and marijuana, but never did anything for me really. You know, I'm a drinker. I was an alcoholic. I'm one of those. I got sober in 1969. I was too terrified of LSD and all the rest of the stuff that was exploding in California, where I lived at that time. And I was afraid of all that stuff, and I'm grateful now that I was, because I ended up joining Alcoholics Anonymous, and now there's everything. I don't know how anybody today can get sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, or anywhere else. I don't know about your blue book. I can only speak for myself, and I have experience with this. I don't know how anybody can get sober anywhere without bringing in something that they've done to themselves. And I thought back, my father was one of the first members of Alcoholics Anonymous in Ireland and in Cork. And his sponsor at that time, the man that started the meeting that he attended, was Aidan McSweeney. My brother Aidan was named after Aidan McSweeney. My brother Aidan died from a heroin overdose. Years later, my sister, who had the privilege of being at Alcoholics Anonymous for, I think, 14 years or so, had to have massive open heart surgery. She was absolutely terrified about taking any medication. She became addicted to medication, drugs prescribed, and then, of course, the one for herself. And my sister died from heart congestion as a result of direct result or indirect result of medication. Right this minute, one of my nieces has delivered a baby, and they will be detoxing this baby. And the complication is there's now fentanyl involved in this kind of detox. It's like, oh my God. So, and everybody else, you know, they're alcoholics. They're alcoholics. My own father, I remember attending meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous in California, Lark Allen meeting. Now, why did I attend them? Because one of his babies was named Betty Milligan from Canada. My father was a very active member of the Welcome Group in Toronto, Canada. And then for reasons that were not worth going into, but he had for tuberculosis. We had to go to the prairies in Canada. And my father started the welcome group in Canada. And then some of the people, he was very charismatic and very involved in AA and blah, blah, blah. And then he came down to California, Southern California. And Betty and a few of the people eventually came down, followed my father down here. And Betty Milligan was a very important person to me, because now I know that she tricked me into going to these meetings. She would say, look, Lila, would you mind driving me to the AA meeting? Or would you do this or that or the other thing? Or would you? And I would say, fine, you know, and I enjoyed them then. I mean, you could tell, you know, Glenn, you remember, you could tell really great stories. Now you tell them, they're all over the internet, you're going to be arrested. But anyway, she would get me a cup of coffee in the meeting, and then I would go out to the car, pour a little whiskey in the cup, go back into the meeting and enjoy the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the things that I noticed is that every now and then my father and his little group of friends, and they were sober a while, would be leaving the meeting and taking a walk around the block. Because my father was a real alcoholic, you see, a real alcoholic. And these are my experiences in AA, a real alcoholic. And real alcoholics, why, they can do other things, can't they? So here's this group of AA members walking around the block smoking marijuana. Needless do I have to tell you that years later, my father died from lung cancer and cirrhosis of the liver. So I have had a lot of experience, and I have no judgment on anybody that has any kind of addiction, because I have watched my friends, sober people, who have forgotten the beginning and the steps in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, who have not had that relationship that they have to have with themselves and the nature of who they are and a God of their own understanding, leave Alcoholics Anonymous in the most innocent of ways, from a surgery, from whatever. Oh my God, I think we have to be so careful, so careful. And I am. So every time I say an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic, I understand that. I understand why I am different than everyone else. I understand that I have some sort of little gene in me. I don't know whether they found it or not, and I don't give a damn whether they ever do. But I have some little gene, and that causes me that if I have a drink, I will crave more. And I can assure you that there is always going to be a part of me that wants to be somewhere else. Alcohol was my solution. My solution. I joined Alcoholics Anonymous at 22. I started drinking about 12 or maybe 11, certainly by 12, because we had arrived in Canada, and I knew where my mother kept the brandy for the priest in the hat box. So they always keep it in the hat box on the top shelf. You know. And I was starting to drink, and I was an active alcoholic. I used to go to the school in my high school when we got to the United States, and I would, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I would have to go into this big giant room where all these other losers were. And I would put my head down on a desk and pass out for about half an hour so I could pull myself back together every day. I spent most of my high school education in Winchell's Donuts, because that's as far as I got. I graduated in the United States because at that time they had big stores with lots of comics, huge comic. I mean, all the history of the United States and, you know, revolutions, all kinds of stuff, and history of all the people that were important in that country. And I read all the comics, and I was a gifted communicator, so I could write about it. That's how I got out of high school. I always regretted that I never attended college. But don't worry, I retired quite happily at 47 years of age, because I had spent quite a number of years from 22 to 47, which is 25 years as a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. When I joined AA, I only joined Alcoholics Anonymous, and I only came in despite knowing about it, despite all of it, because I sat on a couch one night and I knew that I never wanted to get off that couch again, ever. That I had intended that night to pray until I would be taken away, till the air came out of my fingertips, till I could no longer breathe, so that I could just die. I knew that I had not one tiny, weeny bit of energy left in me to go up the next day and say, hello, how are you? I'm fine. Are you? I had no intention of ever talking to anybody again. I had given up. I was done, and it was over. And that night, my mother called me, my mother. And she told me, summarizing it, that I was going to end up just like my father, that I was an alcoholic, and that if I ever wanted help, she would help me make the contact. My mother. So I took the yellow pages, big fat yellow pages in California, and I looked up Alcoholics Anonymous and I called them. And unlike today, where it's 24 hours a day, you know, everything's going on, nobody answered the phone, because at that time in 1969, you know, like, forget it, you know, like, they weren't working all night on the phones in central office. And that was my reason to continue, get my energy back, get the fight back in me, get that Irish thing going again, and saying, to hell with these people. I don't need anybody. I don't need Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was good for about another month. It came every night that when I would start to drink, because by now I didn't go out, I didn't want to have anything to do with anybody, and I would be drinking alone at home. And every night I couldn't get drunk. I just couldn't get drunk. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. It's happened to some people I've heard in AA. I just reversed on me, and I couldn't get drunk. I tried and I drank as much as I possibly could in the whole house. I was not a beer or wine drinker. I thought those were for sissies. I drank my scotch straight up, whiskey straight up, never had an ice cube in a drink until I got sober. I certainly never had umbrellas and cherries and all that other nonsense to get in the way. And I could not drink, and I couldn't get drunk, and I couldn't get drunk. And when you can't get drunk and you're a raging alcoholic and you drink that much into the night, you go mad. And I would be leaving my body and things were fine. I went nuts. I completely, absolutely now know that I had one of those out-of-body experiences where I went completely stark raving mad. I ended up going to a place, a hole in the ground in Huntington Park, because nobody would know me down there except one guy who I wanted to know, at least one person. And I knew him, and I knew he was a really good guy. And I went down there. I fell out of my car going into the meeting, and I went into the room, and a greeter approached me, the most important people in Alcoholics Anonymous. And he said, "Lila, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous." "And what is your name?" "My name is Lila." "Yeah, great. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous." And I had my major resentment. How could this man possibly welcome me to Alcoholics Anonymous? Well, my father was in AA and blah, 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 and I knew all these people. I thought, how does he know I'm a newcomer? How does he know? And before I know it, he's dragged me over to the literature table. He gives me a big book, and he said, "Look, you're eventually going to have to use this 12 and 12. I haven't quite gotten to it yet, but you're going to have to get to it. In the meantime, here's the big book. You have to read this, and I'm going to call you every day to make sure you're okay. And I want you to have read some of this stuff, and we're going to talk about it. And by the way, here's a little newcomer package for you. These are all the like newcomer literature. And oh, for God's sake, I've never, what is it?" And then he said, and by the way, and then he did something strange. He started to make these signs like these old timers, they used to communicate with each other, you know, in this kind of a language of the body, you know, they could just, he made these little signals. And then he said, "You need to sit in that front row over there where the big books are. Please sit there." And I thought, okay, fine. You know, at that point, I like, whatever, I'll be here for now. And this is the last one and only meeting I'll ever attend. So it's not a problem for me. And I went because I was too tired. I didn't have the strength. So I sat in the big book, took the seat off and sat there. And then somebody came running down the aisle from the kitchen and brought me a Coca-Cola and said, "Drink this Coca-Cola as fast as you can." And I've never been offered a Coca-Cola in an AA meeting before. What the hell's the matter with these? Who are these people? And then another guy comes rushing along and he offers me a Hershey bar. And he said, "They want you to eat this Hershey bar as fast as you can." And I didn't get it. I didn't get it until the meeting had started. The little table was up there. Everybody was mumbling. I heard nothing. And the guy beside me, he was like really shaky. And he was drinking Coca-Colas and eating Hershey bars. And he was sitting in the row. And we were all like moving and shaking and doing. And it's like, what is it with this row that I'm in where everybody's moving? And then I realized I'm in the seizure row because the guy beside me flops on the floor. They come out. They take him in the kitchen. They put a thing in his mouth. They bring him back. Everything's good. He sits back up. Things are floating around. Nobody said, "Be quiet." Nobody said anything to us. They just let us go on being nuts in the meeting, completely stark, raving mad. I didn't hear anything in that meeting. I left the meeting. I went home. When I got home, I sat on the same couch. I could swear to God, I heard jackhammers coming behind me. I knew they were coming to get me. I was stark, raving mad. Where was I the next meeting, the next night at 8:30? Back in the meeting. Then I was there every single night. Why was I there? Because it was safe. Because I knew nothing would happen to me in there. Because I had the Hershey bars and the Coca-Colas and they calmed me down. And because everything was quiet. I saw the signs on the wall. I kind of like felt safe. I felt safe. I just kept going back. And then one day I was going back for like maybe a couple of weeks. And that's when they dragged me down to like LA County to see the people shaking it out. And, you know, they tell you to go up there and tell these people your little story about how you're on AA and you're so young and you're grateful and everything. And, you know, they would say, thank you, honey. And then they tell you the next day the woman died and, oh, God almighty, you know, we had a different way about us, but they told you how to stay sober. Because what they did do is they said, there's 4 things, Lila, you have to know. You have to know. Number 1, you can't drink again for the rest of your life. And how you do that is one day at a time. And you have to go to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous for the rest of your life. And how you do that is one meeting at a time. And you have to read the literature of Alcoholics Anonymous for the rest of your life. And how you do that is one page at a time. And you have to find a God of your own understanding, and that's going to take you the rest of your life. And that is what happened to me. And then they would come to your house, clean out your refrigerator on all those life forms that they found throughout your house. They would get everything neat and orderly. They would instruct you to bathe every day. And your bed had this like, I don't know who made the bed the day the woman did it, but I could barely like lift the sheet up to get into it. She must have been in the military or something. It was so tight. And I think, Jesus, you know, what am I doing here? What am I doing? And I thought, well, I'm going to stay for 3 weeks. I'm staying for 3 weeks. And in 3 weeks, I'm going to be fine. I'll be able to get back in the saddle. Everything will be good again. I'll be back to myself. I'll get back to the job. Everything will be great. You know, I'm going to be very successful. I don't need anybody. When did I mute myself?
You're okay.
Oh, great.
You're okay.
So what was I saying? Okay, whatever it was, to hell with it. It doesn't matter
The
because
sheets were tight.
Pardon me?
The sheets were tight.
Yeah, the sheets were tight. So they came out and they cleaned your house. They made you throw out everything that belonged that you that you promised them that you'd already taken care of, and out went all the marijuana, out went all the booze, out went all everything. And the place was spotless and I was spotless. And then they made you clean out your car, take all the cans out of there and all that kind of stuff. They found where I used to have this flask attached underneath the dash so that I didn't have to like stop the car to get a drink. And, you know, they knew all my secrets. It was amazing. And then they told me, Lila, it's time. It's time. It's time. It's time. Well, now I was sober like maybe a few more weeks. And I said, I remember thinking to myself, I don't like being alive anymore. I think I got to go. I'd like to be able to kill myself, but I'm too much of a chicken. I don't want to be harmed. You know, God forbid I should hurt myself. And but I'd like to be gone again. And I called up this guy and he said to me, he was sober a long time. And he said, I said, look, you know, where does it say anything in Alcoholics Anonymous about the fact that I now want to kill myself? I didn't want to kill myself when I was drinking, which was, of course, we know a lie, but that's okay. Here I am, I'm sober, I'm doing everything you want me to do. I show up at that meeting all the time. I'm now a greeter, and believe me, I made my greeter look like he was in a coma. I had those people spinning, but I'm now a greeter, I'm involved and everything, and I want to kill myself. And he said, we have a solution for that. I want you to eat a banana, take a bath, and read the big book. Any page will do. I thought that was really stupid advice, but I did. eat a banana, because we had bananas in our car. We had bananas in our house. We had bananas in the meeting. We never were allowed to be in a car without food because of our hypoglycemic, wasn't like we were coming out of rehab places or anything. We were coming off the streets. So, I had a lot of bananas. So I thought, okay, I got a banana. I'll run the bath. I'll eat the banana. And I wonder which page this is going to be on. And I don't know what page it was on, but I have never forgotten that. And every time something happened to me over the years, I would eat a banana, take a bath, read the big book, and any page would do. And it's always held me in good stead. I wish I could tell you that just being alive and blah, 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 and relative success and all the stuff that happens to you on the outside changed me. It didn't. It's the simplest information that I got at the beginning of my sobriety that has held me in good stead. I am on solid ground because I like saying my name is Lila and I'm an alcoholic. I like knowing that I can have a banana anytime something goes off. I like knowing that when people don't eat sometimes in Alcoholics Anonymous and they go off bridges, it's because they didn't have a sandwich, for God's sake. I've learned from the old people over the years, if you're going to talk to me, make sure you eat first. Are you too tired? My greatest ignition of any character defect that remains in me, and God knows they do in their own way, is because I get tired. If I'm tired, I am a danger to you and to myself. I learned all those things in the first 6 months of my sobriety. I had real problems with some of the people and some of the meetings and all that kind of stuff because boom, everything happened in the 60s, as Glenn and a few of you that have been around can tell you. It was an amazing, 70s rather, amazing time. Alcoholics Anonymous exploded. I found people that were rigid. I found people that were progressive. I found people that were conservative. I found people that had opinions, all opinions about Alcoholics Anonymous. They all formed meetings about their opinions. Shocking. I don't know how we all survived ourselves. However, I happened to find a few people that were like airy-fairy. They were like, into all this magical stuff and talked about, I don't know, angels and things. And I thought, I don't have an angel. I need an angel. How the hell? I can't stay sober without an angel. How could I not know that? Everybody in Ireland has an angel. I will have an angel. And I got an angel. I got a big angel. I got the one with the big wings that walks little children across those little prayer cards. Everybody knows about the angel, the big angel. And I had this angel for years. And do you know that when I'm really tired, really hurt, really sick, really sad, I bring out my angel today. I will use anything that they taught me at the beginning to comfort myself. And when you are sober, as long as I am, you have gone through so many things and so many changes, not only in Alcoholics Anonymous, not only with the people in your life, but you have been so happy and so sad and you've lost so many. Do you know that I know more people in the big meeting in the sky than I do here? My friends are there. A woman I talk to every few weeks for 50 years. I'm telling you, you have to adjust to so many things. So you better get yourself set to stay sober. And what's the secret after they tell you how to eat? Halt. Eat and sleep. The most important things that possibly happen. Eat and sleep. I don't read the big book like someone that's a drunk. I am not a drunk. I am a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I read that big book and I find the person in there that if I don't stay focused on my program and get into these steps, I'm going to become that person again. Do you don't think the jaywalker is still active in me? How many years have I done the same thing over and over and over and again, expecting different results? Do you know it's just in the last few years that I finally realized I still have expectations that you're going to be the way I want you to be. I still expect them to be the way I want them to be, because it would be in their best interest to be that way. Because how do I know? Because I know these things. I will be letting go of all of my old ideas for the rest of my life. The only good news about it is that I have practiced letting go so many of them that there's not that many left. And so I am at peace and content most of the time, because the person that I have come to know and to find in Alcoholics Anonymous as a direct result of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and the steps in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and my dedicated practice to them, because I'm afraid not to, as myself, I have become in touch with the nature of who I am. I know who I am. Alcoholics Anonymous has restored me to the person that I know I am, that I've always wanted to be, and that I am. You know, my favorite pamphlet in Alcoholics Anonymous is a member's eye view of Alcoholics Anonymous. I think it's really written for people with time who say, oh, is this enough? Is this enough? Is there more? Could there be more? Am I doing enough? It explains everything so clearly. It's a flight into, you know, when I heard this man speak, Alan McGinnis, years ago, and he said, for people that would escape on any means to escape, we now are in a flight into reality. I live in reality. I don't know what it would be like not to live in reality. It frightens me to think that I wouldn't be in reality. I've been looking for a God through most of my sobriety. And then over a period of time, it began to evolve to me, Lila, why are you looking for this God when this God has already found you? God has found me. How did I not know that? I have a God that understands me completely. And how did I get there? Because in meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, to this day, when I am in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, I have people that understand me. I don't know. I believe in the steps of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Without them, I wouldn't be here. Without them, my ego would have taken over years ago. Without them, I would have thought that I was all right. Without them, I would have thought that I was better than each and every one of you. Without them, I would be unable to listen to the newcomer. Without them, I would be unable to listen to people with less time than me. Without them, I would be unable to continue to be of service. My favorite thing in a meeting is if they have cups I can wash. Do you know what it feels like to be transported back because you're washing a cup at a sink with a person that you don't know standing beside you? Oh my God, it's the best. It's the best. I long for the old-fashioned Alcoholics Anonymous. I was in meetings a few years ago, and Jane said to me, do you realize that every time somebody talks, you deep breathe, like you go when you don't like what they say? I had to really look at that, because the next meeting I'm at, I thought, what the hell? This is not therapy. And I'm going, but that's okay, because all the other old timers in the room, they were going too. And I thought, okay, but that doesn't make it right. Maybe I could learn something here. I have learned to enjoy my sobriety, enjoy AA, enjoy most people. I don't like everyone in Alcoholics Anonymous, but believe me, the guy I like the least could save my life, and I could save his. And if we ever got alone in a room, just the two of us, and put the bullshit aside, he would talk to me and I would talk to him. And there's one thing those good old boys in the South, Glenn, used to love about me. They knew I was a real alcoholic, one of those real drinkers. And I knew that about them. That's the feeling that I have to have in meetings now. I have to feel like we're not in here just chatting about our childhood. There'll be plenty of that if you understand how to do a thorough fourth step. and you do one every year of your sobriety. Because by the time you're doing a fourth step, as I am, April just went by, I do it every April. It's an opportunity over the years to say, look at all this stuff that's still there. All these old ideas you still have, Lila. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I have a laugh. And I think, take a good look at it now. Have you really looked at all the if only I had gone that way? I give up all the if onlys a couple of years ago. I regret that I hurt this person. I said that. I can't deal with guilt anymore. I don't have the strength. I don't have the spiritual strength. I think inventories become more and more and more revealing the more you take them. And you get to see something. And you get to realize I'm free from alcoholism because I have replaced the need to escape with reality. And I know how to live life's terms because AA has taught me how to do that one day at a time. And I'm not kidding you. The hardest thing I've ever had to do in my sobriety is live one day at a time. So I'm sober. I'm not affected by alcohol. I'm not a drunk. And I need these steps more than I've ever needed them before in my life because I'm dealing with things that have yet to happen. And I have dealt with the death of my brother, the death of my sister, the death of my parents, the death of my friends, the death of the closest people to me. And my yets have yet to come. You don't think that the lack of my partner and the love of my life of 30-something years, phenomenal member of Alcoholics Anonymous that she is yet, or mine? These are the things. Do you know why I'm mad and upset and out of focus today? Because I have a cold that I can't get rid of. And it annoys me because I'm powerless over the bloody thing. You would think that I would be calm and collected. No. I have tinnitus or some damn thing I have to look at in my ear. Trust me. By the end of the evening, I will be on my little knees. I'm not religious by any means. I am of a spiritual nature. And I will be saying to God, you know, my little prayer thing and get them all in there and blah, blah, blah. People that need it and what have you. And then I'll say, for God's sake, can we do something about this cold and this chest thing and this ear thing? Because it's interfering with my quality of life. And guess what? I expect an answer. However, I have the kind of God that I've had from the very beginning. The kind of God that sends you a message that says, hey, Lila, we'll take care of all your problems. Now, would you get the hell out of the way? I don't know how to get out of the way. Unless I can say clearly and easily to myself, you know, Lila, you know about the admitted you're powerless over alcohol thing, but is your life unmanageable? My life rarely is that unmanageable anymore, to be perfectly honest with you. I wake up like practically happy. I wake up happy. I'm actually happy. Can you imagine? I never wanted to be happy. I thought it was bullshit to be that happy. But I wake up most mornings really happy. Because I'm grateful. I'm grateful to wake up. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for everything. Do you know that every November is the month of thank yous? You know, well, that's how I work my thing. So the first step is honest, to be honest. So to be honest, am I unmanageable? Am I off? If I think I'm off during the day, if I think I'm off at all, I have to pause and say, Lila, are you off? And then I go to the second step because I have come to believe 1,000 times that I can be restored. And I have been restored 1,000 times. So I need to go to that step of great hope. And I need to say, pray, will you restore me? Yes. And then I go to 3, the step of faith. And I say, look, okay, I took it back. You can have it again. Me. I'll turn myself over. It doesn't say just bits and pieces. It doesn't say the problem. It says your will and your life. There is no more. Your will and your life is you and what you think. Lots to turn over. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I ran into this guy the other day at a meeting. Oh, I'm chaos, chaos, chaos. I said, the last time I ran into you, you were chaos, chaos, chaos. I said, don't you get the 1, 2, 3 thing? Pause, pray, proceed. 1, 2, 3. I'm unmanageable. Can you restore me? Let's go. And that works all the time. And then you have to take forward. No wonder consider the step of courage. What's in the way? What's in the way? Oh, the longer you're sober, for those of you with the birthdays, you well know by now that what's in the way is far more subtle than it used to be. What's in the way? Oh, the shocker is that you're going to find out that you're in the way. And that nobody else has anything to do with it. Oh, it's such a terrible thing. When I had to give up blame, I couldn't believe it. It's my favorite thing, blaming people, blaming you, blaming me. Now I do it for fun, to be honest with you. And step 5, God, what an important step. Do you realize if we weren't sharing with each other, nothing would change? That if we weren't talking to one another, we'd say, do you think, I believe that Alcoholics Anonymous only works because we talk to one another, because one person shares with another. I do not believe in the AA where I tell you what to do. In the first few years, you wouldn't want me as a sponsor. I will tell you everything that you should do. But about the 5th year, you better start getting this on your own. I believe that Alcoholics Anonymous works for the rest of my life, a day at a time, communicating one symbol at a time, because I share what I do, and you share with me what you do. Not how to do it, but what you do. I am sharing with you today what I do. This is what I do. You can take it, you can leave it, you can find somebody else to talk to. That's why there's so many of us. And now we're in 192 countries. So there we go. Will we have to talk about drugs eventually in AA? Of course, you're not going to find an alcoholic that hasn't had one. They don't exist in today's society. Will we have to accept that the Lord's Prayer is unacceptable? I don't say it in meetings. We're in 192 countries, for God's sake. I had the privilege of bringing books into countries with people that didn't have books, meetings getting started in other countries. I understand how important it is that the spirit of Alcoholics Anonymous is what we communicate with each other. That's what I do. When you talk to me or I talk to you, you're getting the real me. You're getting the spirit of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is who I am. This is what AA has taught me. This is what it has given me. It has freed me to never have to be a mold or like anybody else, to forgive myself all the things I have done. I'm not so sure that I've forgiven everybody. I have a couple of unforgivens yet. Not going to kill me. And in step 5, I get to talk about all that. I get to talk about it. I get to talk about what's on my mind. I get to talk it out. And I get to talk it out with somebody that I choose carefully, who listens to me. I says, yeah, I understand. I didn't do that. But you know what? I had this experience or that experience. Because by the time you do 1, 2, and 3, and you prepare yourself to do 4 and 5, oh boy, you're ready for the steps that are rarely talked about, even now, Glenn. After all those years we spent making all those tapes, you would think. 6 and 7. By the time you're finished, a thorough 4th, over and over and over again, year after year after year, and a conversation in 5, and a conversation in 5, and a conversation in 5. What are you going to end up with? Step 6, entirely ready to have what? Accept. You can't have anything removed unless you accept you have it. Acceptance. I accept everything that I do. Good, bad, or indifferent. I eventually get to 6. I eventually accept it. And then there's a trick in 6. because it says in there, you cannot, God will not render you white as snow and keep you that way without your cooperation. Well, how do I cooperate? Well, I'll tell you, between acceptance and cooperating, you have to take responsibility. Do you know what I do in 6? I say, I accept that all this stuff is there. And when I finish this inventory this last time, I look at all the things that are unresolved. I still have a few unresolved things in my life. There are always people attached to my problems. Never had a problem that wasn't attached to a person. They always are attached. Somewhere out there, they're attached. And so I have some unresolved things that I would really like to have resolved. But I can wait patiently for that to be resolved now because I know it's in work. I know it's going to happen, and I don't know what to do. And it's taken a long time for me to know when I don't know what to do, don't do anything. Remain in the calm of the acceptance. But there are some things I can do things about. And I take responsibility for that. And I make a list of those things and I get busy doing them. And then I cooperate. I cooperate with the 7th step of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Humbly ask God to remove our shortcomings. When I realize that I am the shortcoming, when you're finished all your inventories and you're as old as I am and as tired as I am and as fed up as I am about a whole bunch of stuff, you're going to find out you're the problem. And when you find out you're the problem and there's no one else to blame, whoa, it's exhausting. And then you find out how much you really need these steps. And don't think that will drive you into 7. 7 for me is so simple, I can't even tell you. What is it? Help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. I'll do all this other stuff. I get it. I get that I'm unmanageable. I get that I can pray and be restored. And I'm going to proceed now. And I'm going to look again and look again and look again and look again and talk and talk and talk it out. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to say, okay, this is it. This is what I think I have to accept. I'm going to take full responsibility to do what I can do. And I'm going to cooperate with you by saying, would you mind helping me with the stuff I can't do anything about? I have never not been helped. Now, it's not necessarily on my time frame. I am not, at the beginning, 4, 5, 8, 9, 4, 5, 8, 9. Everybody does them together. They skip 6 and 7. For people with a little bit of time anyway. But 4, 5, 8, 9, and then we get to make the list. I was taught from the beginning that when I did the 4th step with my sponsor, she made the list. I make the list for the people that give me their 4th step. Chat away in the 5th step. Because when I gave her my list, really. So I then have the list. Do you know that I have just in the last maybe 20 years, when I was about 30-ish sober, realized why 6 and 7 is between 4, 5, 8, and 9? Because when you get to 9, the first paragraph of the 12 and 12 will say to you, these are the qualities you must have before you even make those steps. Right there in writing. Good sense of timing, things like that. You can look it up. They want you to have a level of acceptance. Take responsibility for your part. You will find out that you have very few amends to make because you're probably the problem. You've asked God to help you. After you've finished all that, you're kind of spiritually more fit. Now is a good time to look at that big list that you have and go talk to your sponsor about it because you're going to find out it's really very little. And it's going to be things that are unresolved and things where there was issues and you have been harmed and hurt. And it's just a matter of deciding that belongs with them and this belongs with me. I have no guilt and I take no guilt for things that have happened to me that I found that were wrong. I have only in the last few years released the guilt that I actually thought that I could control the sickness of my own father and his family and his destruction of his children. I actually thought I could control that. The guilt I carried sober because I didn't. I just got rid of it because I did it over and over. Because I don't want any more if onlys and I regrets. I don't have room for it anymore. I think you have to be very spiritually fit when you make these amends. If I made mistakes at the beginning of my sobriety, is that I made amends too soon. And I'm very careful with people. And I'm not talking about pay back the money you stole and all that kind of stuff. Those kind of amends have to be done right away. I am talking about those internal things that have tortured you. Because they're all going to go away someday. Because you're going to get to 10. You're going to get to 10. So after 1, you're unmanageable. 2, you're being restored. 3, you're going to make a decision to get the hell out of the way and turn yourself over. 4, you're going to start looking honestly at all this stuff over and over and over again. 5, you're going to talk to somebody until you can talk it out. 6, you're going to accept whatever it is that's then in front of you. You're going to define it, see what you can take care of. And then you're going to go to 7 and say, would you help me with what I can't take care of? You're going to 8 and say, have I damaged anybody, or have I let anybody damage me while this process was going on? And I'm going to say, oh, I got to get these qualities inside of me and practice them and live with them and understand what they mean so that I can go out there and I can make the proper amends so that I don't have to do it again. And when I have done that, you get to 10 and 11. I love reading pages 83, is that 83 or 84 something, to 88 in the big book. Because it tells me you are now entered the realm of the spirit. I have always wanted to be in the realm of the spirit. That's why I drank. I have a soul sickness I've been trying to satisfy my whole life. When I stopped drinking, I still had that space inside. I don't have a space inside now, it's filled up. And when you read that little bit in the big book, and then you go and you take the 10th step and the 11th step and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous over and over and over again, and you find out, what is this taking continual personal inventory? People do whatever they need to do for the first 50 years, I don't care. But after about 30 years or so, that didn't work for me anymore. I didn't have the repetitive problems that I always had. When I take an inventory now in the 10th step, it's a very, very precise inventory. Am I protecting the spirit in me? Because I have had a journey in Alcoholics Anonymous from step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that said, these are the qualities you must have. This is who you are now, Lila. Are you acting and being that person? And what is in the way of that? And I protect myself. Back in 4 and 5, I was able to identify people as red people, green people, or yellow people. You know, stoplights, red, stop, green, go, yellow, caution. I say, do I have any reds in my life today, or am I going to be encountering any reds? How am I today? Am I red today? Am I yellow? Am I green? Am I protecting myself? Am I protecting this place inside, this soul of mine, this house they promise that you're going to build in Alcoholics Anonymous? They don't tell you that it's inside yourself. They don't tell you that it's your house. They don't tell you that every few years, every 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50, 25, 30, and on, God willing, a long time, that you're going to have to rearrange the furniture and change the view, that it's your house inside. The house is your soul. There's room number 1 where you go and you can pause and say, am I okay today? Room number 2 where you can say, can you restore me? A little chapel or something in there, I don't know. Room number 3 where you can say, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm willing to listen. Room number 4, can we sit down and I'm going to do the best I can to write all this stuff out, and it's the same old stuff, but it's over and over and it's deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm going to go into this other room with a couch and chair and a cup of tea, a good cup of tea, Glenn. Furious boil. Must be done with a furious boil. And we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to go for a walk in the woods or something. And I'm going to say, okay, I have to accept all this stuff now. And I better make a little list of the things that I could do. And I'm going to go 7 for all these unresolved things where I would like them to be what I want them to be, but they're not going to be what I want them to be. And I'm going to have to ask for God's help to take care of that for me. Then I'm going to say, is there anybody that I'm uncomfortable with? Is there anybody that I can't look directly in the eyes? Is there anybody that I can't hug today? Is there anybody that I don't let touch my soul? And if there is, I either have to make a decision that they're red and I have nothing to do with them, that they're yellow and I better be a little cautious, or that they're a green light and it's going to be great to talk to them, see them in the little boxes. I'm going to take full responsibility for myself. Because when I'm finished with 10 and I'm protecting the inside of me, I protect myself. I make sure that my life and Jane's life, we have a very orderly life. We learned to have orderly lives when we first got sober. I had an orderly life. They teach you how to feed yourself and pay your bills and 10 cents on the dollar. Everything is done in an orderly manner right at the beginning of your sobriety. That's what we do with these people. That's what we're supposed to do with them. Teach you how to have an orderly life so that when life becomes full and you are an active participant in life, you know how to live life on life's terms. You know that you can't do it by yourself. You know that you have to talk to people. You know that you have to go to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous no matter what. You know that you have to have some sort of ritual for yourself in the morning. Oh, it changes over the years. I like them. I have all these little rituals, you know. And then a couple of years ago, when I found out the hardest thing I've ever had to do was live in the day, I'm out of there all the time. So I thought, Lila, you're going to have a little ritual for that, after all. So when I get up in the morning, I don't get out of the bed until I'm clear, until I understand whether I'm 1, 2, or 3. Am I manageable? Am I in my life in order? Have I restored myself? And am I ready to roll? And when I'm finished with 10, a really big step. 6, 7, 10, and 11 are the glue of Alcoholics Anonymous. They're the glue of Alcoholics Anonymous. They're what Carl Jung would say, alcoholics are people in search of God. Dr. Bob was a fundamentalist, you know, get down on your knees and pray and do all that kind of stuff. Jesus, I'd never have made it. Bill Wilson was seeing Edgar Casey on the side. Ooh, wow, we're into the other world. Thank God there's 2 of them. Me, I got a God. I got a God beyond my understanding. I got a God that loves me. Why? Oh, I don't trust a big God. I'm not that trusting. I'm not that healthy. I have G period, O period, D period. Ghosts on demand. My God is the collective consciousness of all my ancestors, of my granny and my nana and my mother and my sister and my brother and all the people that I know love me. You don't think I fold myself into them all the time? I trust them. They loved me when I was a drunk and a crazy little person. They love me now. That's my God, of my understanding. It's enough for me. If there's more, I'll figure it out when I get there. How exciting. If there's no more, I've got more than I've ever imagined. Now, 10 prepares me to go to 11. To go to 11. So through prayer and meditation. I'm not a meditator. Come on, look at this kind of mind I have. Do you think that I can meditate for any length of time without going crazy? Not really. But I'm a real big prayer. Man, I can pray anywhere. I remember when I was running these businesses and stuff, I would go into a public bathroom and get down on my hands and knees because somebody in AA said, Lila, if you're ever really stressed, just get in there and bring in a bunch of angels and bring them into the boardroom with you, or go down on your knees and ask for help. And I would. I mean, I laugh when I think a person with the mind I have, the intelligence, all the stuff that's gone on for about 50-something years of my sobriety, that I follow every instruction I've ever been given by anyone in AA. Thank God. Because when you get to 11, you are charging that battery of yours into the biggest power source you're ever going to have. This is it. If you don't understand those steps, how are you going to make room to get to 11? How are you going to make room to be able to plug into that power How are you going to be able to room to plug in to the collective consciousness of 192 countries and 2, 3, 4 million strong members of Alcoholics Anonymous, all out there doing what? Doing the best we can. And some days it's not enough, and it doesn't matter because someone else is carrying the weight. Praying only for God's will and the power to carry it out. I love step 11, but I love preparing myself for it much more. I was with some people, and they said to me, you know, my Jane that I am privileged to live with is a huge member of AA and very active and all these things and countries and everything. She's wonderful. And she was just chatting with somebody. She chats with everybody. We know every dog, everything in the entire countryside of Ireland, you know. And she said to me, this young person, I mean, I don't know, she was 20 something. She said, oh, Jane has such a social battery. I thought, social battery. And then I realized I'm talking, this is a new language, you know, I have to learn now, right? Zoom, social battery. She said, oh, yes, look at her. She just, everybody knows her. She talks to everybody. She could be the mayor of Killarney, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And then I realized just the other day, my God, when I take the 11th step, I have a spiritual battery. And I take that battery and I charge it in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous on the 11th step. And I make sure that I stay charged. When you're 53 plus years sober, you're 75 years of age, your yets of the greatest difficulty have yet to come, then I'm going to tell you, you need to have your battery charged all the time. I don't like to not have my battery charged. I don't like to feel powerless over my friggin' cough, which, by the way, I haven't coughed since I've been talking to you. Spiritual. And I don't know. I forget about this thing in my ear when I'm talking to. It helps. Helps a lot. I don't have time anymore for regrets, for if onlys, for did I forgive them or didn't I? They're done. They're gone. It's over. Every cell in my body in the last year has been screaming at me, let go, Lila, would you, for God's sake, let go. Don't worry about what you're letting go. We'll take it. Just let it go. Do you know what it's like to be over 50 years sober and have everything in your body saying, oh my God, let go? And yes, there were a lot of things happening. When you have the next generation and the next generation having fentanyl babies, I can assure you, I have things I need to feel and to let go. When you have the privileges and the privilege of many privileges that Jane and I have, you have to be very careful about especially family issues and things like that, so that you're not running anybody else's life or having an expectation that maybe you will and they won't. Oh my God, to not just hold myself back and let go and only do what's presented in front of me, to trust that the God of my understanding, they will present to me what I'm supposed to do. If I could just get the hell out of the way and make room. I don't know how not to make room. If I don't do 1, 2, 3 in the morning, take a little look during the day, see how I'm doing. I use the steps all the time. And 11 is huge. You don't think I needed a charge? Because I didn't want to have this meeting, because I really didn't want to do it, because my head hurt, my ear hurts, everything bloody hurts, because I'm tired, because I'm not myself, because my energy was down. I can assure you, I could run around that entire national park right now and ride a few horses. I believe in that. And so, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of what? Going to meetings? No. The we of Alcoholics Anonymous protects me. It makes me feel safe. All of you make me feel safe. My God, that's the magic of us, isn't it? That we share with one another and that we make each other feel safe and that we get the coffee going and it all sounds the same. The seats are the same. Even the Zoom boxes are, thank God, all the same size. No. It's the I. I had to do the steps. Nobody can do them for you. You must make them your own. Make them your own as soon as you can. If you're talking to somebody that hasn't been talking about the steps, for God's sake, find somebody that is. If you need to go to step meetings, go to them. Do whatever you need to do to have a greater understanding, because it's the only route for people that have the sickness, the soul sickness that I have. People like me, I don't know about you, but people like me, the only route I have is to make room, make room, make room. And nothing has made more room for me than the use and the cleaning out and the freedom of the steps of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I wish you the honesty and the pause in one, and the hope and the praying in two, and that you'll be restored, and the faith and the proceeding in three. I wish you the courage to get out of the way in four, and then clean it out, get rid of all that stuff. You don't even have to explain it properly. Just get rid of it. Chances are you're talking to somebody that knows what you're talking about anyway. We speak in a different language here. And talk it out. Share. Sharing is what works in Alcoholics Anonymous. They say that if you're sober long enough, you'll hear your entire story, drunk or sober, in AA. I'm about 80% along that way. I've heard almost all of it. Acceptance is the big thing. 6 and 7, 10 and 11 are magic. 8 and 9 are to be handled very carefully with the guidance of a good sponsor who's been there and done that. Don't forget the qualities that you have to have, and look up that first paragraph in step 9 in the 12 and 12. You'll be surprised. And when you get to 10, protect yourself. Protect this amazing sober person, whether you're sober 5 days or 13 days or 168 days. And oh, how exciting, 335. 30 more days. 30 more days, you get to blow out that candle. It's huge. It's huge. Allow yourself to cry. It's huge. And celebrate that birthday every single solitary year, because every single solitary year will become more precious. You're going to want it more, and you'll have had a spiritual awakening, hopefully, as a result of the steps. The we of AA will protect you while you walk through those steps. And when you, the I, walk through those steps, I walk through those steps, I can tell you I need the we more than I've ever needed it. Because when I'm in the heart of 4 and 5, when I'm in the thrust of wanting to accept, when I need so to accept that I can't do anything to help anymore, you have no idea how your prayers will change, how you will change as a result. A spiritual awakening, an awakening as a direct result of the steps of alcoholics. We carry this message to alcoholics. What's the message? Don't waste time. Get going. They're there. Jump on. Tons of step stuff out there. Hey, Glenn's tapes are still selling. Glenn, they have these step meetings all over the world. I mean, can you imagine from back in the 90s, whenever we did them? I don't even remember, but Jesus, they're still happening. I'm so proud that there's still people talking about the steps from your contribution, Glenn, from the times that we went to this conference after conference after conference. And Mary was there with us all the time. I mean, you know, now she's running Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, you know, can't have a bloody meeting without having her in it, if of any consequence, really. So I want to thank you for letting me share with you today. And of course, the hardest part of the whole thing is ending with what it says here. We carry this message. The message is, please get on with it. You know, nobody knows how to do it right. There's no wrong way to do it. There is no wrong way to work the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. None. If it's not working for you, find another way. There's 1,000 ways. But the whole secret of the thing, unfortunately, is going to be the last few words of the 12 and 12 steps. Practice these principles in all our affairs. Do you know, like 1 November, I remember saying, thank you for the hot water. Thank you for the car. Thank you for the car starting. Thank you for this. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I said, thank you for 30 days for about 4 years in a row. And if there was one word that I were to be left with, that I could never utter another word in my life, it would be thank you. So thank you for the opportunity to perhaps restore myself today, because I haven't been myself. I needed to be put back together. And thank you for helping me do that. It's all yours, Glenn.